Here is where I get to set my spirit free. Here is where I find my naturality. Where are we going?
Where are we going? Today, we have our Vice President of Student Affairs, Mr. Rick Gatteau. Well, Dr. Rick Gatteau, excuse me. And we want to talk about how students have been affected through COVID and, honestly, student life in general. Thank you for coming today. How are you doing?
Thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. We made it to Thanksgiving, so this is really good news.
We did. Nothing got shut down. We were moving along steady.
Right.
So I guess I'll start by asking, what is your role? Because I feel like you wear a lot of different hats, but what?
Sure. Well, my roles evolved over time. I actually started at Stony Brook almost 19 years ago. It's been an incredible journey. And I actually started as Director of Academic Advising years ago and shifted doing a lot of work with our Finish and 4 to increase our graduation rates. And about 3 years ago, I came over to be the VP for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, which has been just an incredible joy having the opportunity to work with students like you and really building up our student life, our career development areas, our residential life area, which is huge on our campus, and just making people proud to be a Seawolf, I think is one of the most important roles that I have in helping students ultimately graduate and be successful, and crossing that finish line is a really important goal when people first enter Stony Brook for us to help achieve.
Okay. So how has that changed after COVID?
So COVID's been, I'd say, a bit of a curveball for us. And, I even though I feel like it probably feels like decades ago, it's only been since March that we've had to, my famous word we use is pivot. We've had to pivot a lot and make changes. And it's interesting we, as a campus, we're always influenced by external stakeholders and issues that happen, but I don't think anything has been quite as dramatic as COVID in terms of influencing what we can and can't do on our campus. And so, I always think of things, if anybody's taken psychology, I always think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. And, I think in life we often take for granted our safety and security, which is at the kind of foundational level. And prior to COVID, most of my work was focused on things like student engagement and involvement and ways to build your resume and portfolio and experience on campus. And that really shifted to be much more focused on the very basic things about health and safety, and particularly ensuring that we are preventative in students not getting COVID, making sure that people, all of our campus community is following safety protocols. We were very forward thinking about our testing protocols, which we put in place early on. And I think that's what's led us to actually a really good place in terms of ensuring the campus could remain open. And so as I look back, I think about the monumental tasks as a university that we all achieved. And ultimately, I give so much thanks to our students, because it's student behavior that drives whether we could have stayed open, and because students ultimately listened to the advice and the protocols we put in place. They went to get tested, wore a mask, practiced social distancing, really helped a lot. But it did create challenges for us during the semester, because what was so unusual, we had so many students more than ever fully remotely, because we were normally a campus of many 50% residents, 50% commuters, and now it was a whole nother group of Seawolves that we had to care for, who were not physically on campus. So we've done a lot. Zoom has become our best friend, and we've done a lot of virtual programs to engage students, tons on social media. We've had our clubs and organizations still very active, even in a virtual world, and tried to also build as much a robust campus life as possible, but knowing that safety was always the priority.
Okay. So that seemed like it would have been hard to navigate, especially on all the Zoom calls, trying to figure out what protocols do we put in place, what do we do to make sure the students stay safe. So how do you see that affecting the spring?
So good question. So for the spring, it's still some unknowns. Obviously, as the country has experienced different waves of COVID, that does impact even our campus community. And as much as I like to think of our campus as its own bubble where we're protected, we are influenced and affected by the community, because not everybody can stay on campus 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So again, our testing protocol, which has worked very effectively, is something that we will absolutely be doing into the spring semester. And a couple things to point out. One is that as students either go home and then come back for the spring, one effective measure that we implemented in the summer, we'll do in the spring again, is everyone will be required to have a negative PCR test to come back to campus, because that's a really important initial safety step for us. We also, because this is also the external part of ensuring we're following New York State guidelines, is that we will do precautionary quarantine for students coming from restricted states or overseas. And that's an important way of separating students out to make sure they're safe. And our health services team and our counseling staff do an incredible job making sure, and with Residential Life, working in partnership to keep people safe to then go to their residence hall assignments for the spring. So those are some really kind of the health and safety measures that we're going to continue. Academically, our hope is that we will start our in-person classes February 1st. There's a hope on the horizon about the vaccine. It's been spoken a lot about in the media of late. The question is about distribution, and when would our campus community be able to get that vaccine and then really return to what I would say is a more normal routine of campus life, which may not be to probably next fall. But for the spring, we've already done the fall this year, and I think we can replicate that in a really positive way in 2021. But I think I'm ready for a new year. I think we all are.
For sure. So going off of that, how do you think that education will evolve from here? So I'll give you my answer first.
Yeah.
I think that education should continue to have remote and in-person classes and allow the student to choose which one would be the best for them. And maybe it's flexible, so maybe sometimes they come to class and sometimes it's online. I think that allows students to feel a little more flexibility and freedom with their education.
Yes, I completely agree. And COVID, I talk about a lot of silver linings in COVID, and I think that is one of them. And in higher education, this is, I think, true broadly, is that sometimes there's a resistance to change because we're used to doing things a certain way, and the in-person class learning experience is what we're just used to. And I think this has required us to think differently about how education works. And I would argue this is both inside and outside the classroom. And so the phrase I've said before is, you never let a good crisis go to waste. And so this is an opportunity, like you just said, where there's a lot of value to the in-person experience, but also to the online experience. And so there are ways, and Zoom has proven that as an effective tool, that you can provide synchronous learning in that environment and provide a more flexible structure. And what will be interesting is that when you look at even CWILs to come through the next several years, in the high school level, they've also now experienced this as well. So I think the greater exposure to online education and allowing this, in a sense, this forced shift in the way that we educate students, I think will result in better methods and better tools to engage students virtually. I know that everyone uses the term Zoom fatigue, and I think that is real. I think if you have too much screen time, it's a lot, it's too much. But I'm hoping we get into this balanced portfolio where you have some in person, some online, and also what's been a very successful model is actually the hybrid model, where you have some in person and some remote. So there's that mixed piece of it. So we'll see, where it takes us. I do want to also add that even in the student life realm, the virtual programming that we've done has also been a great way to engage students off campus. And I do often think about, even post-COVID, thinking about commuter students who might not live on campus and go home after their class but still want to engage in clubs and organizations. We don't have to go back to the old way where we only meet in person. We can have that hybrid model where we have the smart rooms where we've got the ability to Zoom someone in, and you have some people in person, and you can still build community through engagement, whether you're 20 miles away in another country or you're on campus. So I think there are limitless possibilities that we can, will basically shape what the future looks like for us. So there's a lot in and out of the classroom that we can do and integrate in much better ways.
Yeah, I love that. I think that it's nice because it also allows people to have more access to education, which is something that Americans and people all over the world don't have.
Absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to add is even when I've talked to students about lectures or class materials, when you're in a face-to-face class, sometimes you maybe tuned out or didn't go to the class and missed some of the material, and there's no way to retrieve that because you weren't there. Mm-hmm. But I think in the online world too, a lot of, whether it's asynchronous or even lectures that have been recorded, you really have the ability, if you have the motivation as a student, to go back and listen and learn to that content so that you can excel in the class maybe differently than you would have had you only had that in-person lecture where you're maybe, like me in college, you were sleepy-eyed at 8 a.m. and weren't ready for that class. So there are, I think, opportunities to still learn in that different modality.